The laughter hit harder than the wine ever could. We were halfway through dinner when my sister Chloe leaned back in her chair, swirling her glass like she was auditioning for a commercial, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You know what's funny? Emily still wears that fake gold necklace like it's real." Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. The table froze. Then Mom chuckled, eyes flicking toward me with that familiar, condescending smile. "Well, sweetheart," she said, dabbing her lips with her napkin, "it matches her. Looks shiny from a distance, but doesn't hold much value up close." My fork paused midair. The sound of their laughter felt like claws scraping through my chest. I looked around the table. My sister in her designer dress, Mom in her pearls, Dad quietly pretending to focus on his steak. No one defended me. No one ever did. "Wow," I finally said softly, setting my fork down. "You guys really don't get tired of this, huh?" "Oh, come on," Chloe smirked. "Don't be so sensitive. It's just a joke." "Right," I said. "Just like last Thanksgiving when you called me the family disappointment, or when Mom told Aunt Karen I'd probably marry my credit card debt." Chloe's smirk faltered. Mom sighed dramatically. "We're only teasing you, Emily. You really should learn to laugh at yourself." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You're right. I'll work on that." The silence that followed was thick, awkward enough to make even Dad clear his throat. I pushed my chair back slowly. "Excuse me," I said calmly. "I've got an early morning." Chloe rolled her eyes. "Big day at your thrift store job?" I didn't respond. I just picked up my purse, walked out, and closed the door behind me. My hands were trembling when I got into my car, but not from anger, from adrenaline. The kind that builds right before a storm. I sat there for a long time, staring at that fake, gold necklace hanging against my collarbone. It wasn't fake. I'd known that for weeks. A few months ago, when I was cleaning out Grandma's old attic, I'd found a certificate tucked behind one of her sketchbooks, a faint signature from a Parisian jeweler dated 1941. The same name engraved on the clasp of this necklace. Curious, I'd taken it to a private appraiser. When he examined it, his hands actually shook. He told me it wasn't costume jewelry, it was a lost artifact. Handcrafted from a unique gold alloy, part of a missing wartime collection. Its worth? Somewhere around $2.8 million. That night, while my family mocked me over dinner, I had already scheduled something big, something that would change the way they looked at me forever. So instead of crying, I opened my phone, pulled up the invitation draft I'd been working on, and started typing. The Alcott Family Charity Gala. Hosted by Ms. Emily Alcott. Location: the Metropolitan Museum Hall, 7 p.m. Then I attached a single photo, the necklace glowing under studio lights. My fingers hovered over the send button as I whispered to myself, "You wanna laugh? Let's make it unforgettable." And I pressed send. That night, I didn't fall asleep thinking about what they said. I fell asleep thinking about their faces, tomorrow, when they'd finally see what I'd been wearing all along. The next evening, the air outside the Metropolitan Museum buzzed with camera flashes and murmurs. Elegant cars lined the curb, their headlights washing across the marble steps like liquid gold. I stood just inside the entrance, calm, collected, every detail of the night planned down to the last breath. A young woman from the museum staff adjusted her headset and turned to me with a polite smile. "Ms. Alcott, the press is already here. Would you like us to begin the introductions?" "Yes," I said softly, keeping my eyes fixed on the main doors. "Let's start." Minutes later, I saw them. My mother, sister, and father stepping out of a black SUV. Chloe wore a sequined gown that screamed for attention. Mom clutched her purse like she owned the place. Their laughter carried even from outside. They had no idea. As they walked through the glass doors, Chloe looked around, clearly stunned by the grandeur. "Wait," she whispered, glancing at the crowd of well-dressed guests and photographers. "This can't be her event." Mom scoffed. Relax. She probably volunteered to help with the catering or something. Their words barely grazed me anymore. The same people who had mocked me now stood beneath chandeliers worth less than the necklace they'd called fake. I greeted them with a composed smile. You made it. Mom blinked at me, then forced a thin smile of her own. Well, of course. Your email sounded important. But really, Emily, what's going on here? You'll see, I replied. Please, enjoy yourselves until the presentation starts. I walked away before they could reply, leaving them in the middle of a sea of strangers who nodded to me, not them. The room glowed in golden light. Waiters moved gracefully through the crowd, glasses of champagne balancing on silver trays. Every now and then, I caught Chloe trying to whisper questions to random guests, her confusion turning slowly into unease. At precisely 7:30, the museum director, Mr. Reynolds, stepped onto the small stage near the center of the hall. His voice echoed warmly through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, thank you for joining us this evening for a remarkable occasion. Tonight, we honor a rediscovered treasure, a piece of art and history thought to be lost forever. It comes to us thanks to the generosity and insight of a remarkable woman, Ms. Emily Alcott. All heads turned. The applause hit like thunder. My heart pounded once, twice, then steadied. Mom's jaw dropped. Chloe blinked, as if the words hadn't processed yet. Mr. Reynolds gestured toward a covered glass display behind him. And now, we reveal the Alcott heirloom necklace, circa 1941, estimated value, $2.8 million. The velvet cloth lifted, and the entire hall gasped. There it was, gleaming under the lights, each diamond refracting like captured stars. The same necklace Chloe had mocked at dinner. The same one Mom called cheap. Now framed under museum glass, its name engraved on a gold plate. I watched their faces as realization settled in. Shock. Confusion. Then something deeper, regret. Mom's hand went to her chest. That's your necklace? She whispered. I turned toward her, keeping my tone even. The fake one, remember? Her lips parted, but no sound came. Chloe stammered. You donated this? You knew all along. I took a small step closer, lowering my voice, so only they could hear. Yes. I knew. I just didn't feel the need to prove it, until you made it clear that humiliation was your language. Their silence was almost satisfying. Almost. The museum director continued. This donation not only enriches our collection but symbolizes something greater, the preservation of legacy and integrity. He smiled at me. Ms. Alcott, would you like to say a few words? I stepped up to the microphone, every eye in the hall fixed on me. My palms were steady. My voice didn't shake. Thank you, I began. When I first found this necklace, I was told it might not be worth anything, that it looked too plain to be valuable. But sometimes, I paused, scanning the room until my eyes met my family's. The most extraordinary things are overlooked, not because they lack worth, but because people refuse to look closely. A quiet ripple moved through the audience. Value, I continued, isn't defined by appearance or opinion. It's defined by truth. And tonight, that truth finally shines. Applause filled the hall. Chloe looked ready to sink into the floor. Mom's eyes glistened, torn between pride and shame. When the applause softened, I stepped down from the stage. As I passed them, Mom reached out. Emily, she said softly, we didn't know. You should have told us. I met her gaze, calm but cold. You never ask. For a second, she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. Chloe swallowed hard. Was this all just to teach us a lesson? I smiled faintly. No, Chloe. This was to remind you that respect isn't inherited, it's earned. As I turned away, the cameras flashed again, capturing a moment I knew would follow them forever, their frozen disbelief beside the plaque with my name. And in that blinding light, for the first time in my life, I felt weightless, free of their laughter, their judgment, their endless need to remind me where I stood. They had spent years treating me like a background shadow. But tonight, the spotlight didn't belong to them. It belonged to the girl they once called fake. The gala ended late, but the real show began the moment the applause died down. Chloe stood frozen near the display case, her reflection warped in the glass. $2.8 million, she whispered, almost to herself. You're lying. There's no way. Ask the museum, I said coolly. They verified every detail. Mom still looked dazed, clutching her clutch like it could protect her from embarrassment. Emily, we didn't mean to. Didn't mean to what? I cut in, my voice sharp but calm. Didn't mean to humiliate me in front of the family? Didn't mean to call me worthless every time I tried to build something for myself? Or didn't mean to assume that your approval defined my worth? Her eyes fell. For once, Mom didn't have a comeback. Guests drifted around us, whispering. I could feel the shift in the air. The same relatives who once ignored me were now trying to catch my attention, smiling too wide, pretending they'd always believed in me. Mr. Reynolds, the museum director, approached. Ms. Alcott, congratulations again. The board is thrilled with your donation. They'd like to discuss future collaborations with you, perhaps a charity foundation under your name? I smiled faintly. That sounds perfect. Let's schedule something next week. He nodded, walking off. Chloe's mouth fell open. You're working with them now? Actually, I said, glancing around at the elegantly dressed crowd, I've been working with them for months. I just didn't mention it because, well, you'd probably have called it another one of my fake jobs. Chloe's expression cracked, her confidence dissolving like sugar in water. So, all this time, you knew? You planned this. I didn't plan you, I replied quietly. You handed me the moment yourself. She flinched. That's cruel. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. You don't get to talk about cruelty, Chloe. You've built your whole personality around belittling people. Every dinner, every holiday, you needed someone smaller to feel tall. Well, congratulations. I pointed subtly toward the crowd, people now surrounding the necklace display, reading the golden plaque with my name engraved. Tonight, you finally got the attention you wanted. Just not the kind you expected. For a few seconds, silence swallowed us. Then Chloe turned and stormed off toward the exit, her heels echoing like angry punctuation marks. Mom lingered. Emily, we made mistakes. I nodded slowly. You did. Her voice cracked. Can we start over? That one question, the kind I used to dream of hearing, didn't sting the way I thought it would. It just felt late. Too late. I don't hate you, Mom, I said softly. But I've stopped needing you to see me. Her eyes shimmered. She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Instead, she just looked at me like she was realizing, maybe for the first time, that I'd outgrown the space she'd forced me into. I turned away, catching my reflection in the glass case, the necklace glowing behind me, my name shining beneath it. For the first time, I saw myself not as the outcast or the overlooked daughter, but as someone who survived being underestimated and turned it into power. Outside, the night air was crisp. The city lights glimmered like scattered jewels. I stepped onto the museum steps and exhaled slowly, watching the breath leave me like old memories drifting away. Behind me, the sound of cameras still clicked, echoing down the marble hall. Every flash, every whisper, every stunned face, it was more than validation. It was justice. And as the door closed behind me, I smiled to myself and whispered, now they finally know what real gold looks like. Sunlight poured through the curtains like it had something to prove. I sat on the edge of my bed, scrolling through my phone, dozens of messages, hundreds of notifications. The gala photos had gone viral overnight. Local woman donates lost $2.8 million artifact was plastered all over social media. My name, the one my own family used to mock, was trending. Every article had the same picture, me standing beside the display case, calm and proud, while my necklace shimmered under glass. In the background, blurred but still visible, were my mother and sister, faces pale with disbelief. The poetic justice was almost cinematic. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. Emily, we're proud of you. We didn't realize what that necklace meant. Can we talk? Then another, from Chloe. Hey, I said some awful things. You didn't deserve that. Maybe we can start over. I stared at the screen for a long moment. I should have felt satisfaction. Maybe even joy. But what I felt was peace. The kind that doesn't need validation anymore. I set the phone down and walked to the window. Across the city skyline, the museum's glass roof glimmered in the morning sun, the same building where, hours ago, my name had been spoken with respect for the first time. I thought about that dinner table, about laughter cutting through me like shards, about being told I was less. And now? Now those same voices were the ones trembling to be heard. But I didn't need to humiliate them further. The truth had already done the job. There was a knock at my apartment door. I turned, startled. When I opened it, Dad stood there, quiet, hands in his pockets, eyes softer than I'd seen in years. "Can I come in?" he asked. I nodded. He walked to the couch, sat down, and sighed. "I saw everything. The necklace, the articles. You did good, Em." "Thanks," I said, sitting across from him. He hesitated. "Your mom's been crying all morning. Chloe too. You really hit them hard." I folded my arms. They hit me first, repeatedly, for years. "I know." His voice dropped low. And I should have stopped it. I didn't. That caught me off guard. Dad never admitted fault, ever. He looked down at his hands. "Your mother, she grew up thinking money meant everything. She pushed that onto all of us. But you've got something stronger. You've got heart." My throat tightened. I didn't expect emotion from him, not after years of silence. He met my gaze. "You proved them wrong. But more than that, you proved yourself right." For the first time in years, I smiled genuinely. "Thanks, Dad." He stood, gave me a small nod, and said, "You did what I never could. You made them listen." After he left, I glanced again at my phone. The messages from Mom and Chloe still waited, blue bubbles blinking like ghosts of old wounds. I typed a reply, short, measured, true. "I forgive you, but I've moved on." Then I pressed send. The quiet that followed wasn't empty. It was clean, like a reset after a long storm. I reached into my drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a replica of the necklace, same design, less value, made of simple gold. I fastened it around my neck and looked in the mirror. This time, I didn't see the girl with fake jewelry. I saw someone who had rebuilt herself, piece by piece, until she became untouchable. Outside, the city moved fast and bright, but I wasn't rushing anymore. I whispered to my reflection. They thought I wore something fake. Turns out, I just hadn't shown them the real me yet. And for the first time, I smiled, not because I'd won, but because I'd finally stopped needing to.